luxury can be perseverance. So, according to you, what is luxury that the students should understand?
I think for me, luxury first and foremost before anything else is authenticity. Right? It's like about the truest and the most luxurious pieces of anything are when they're most authentic to its maker. And whatever is your core as a person, that is, I think, the most luxurious thing about anybody. So whether you want to be a fashion designer, or you want to make, I don't know, you want to make furniture, you want to make interiors, and you want to make something really high end and luxurious and evolved in its design aesthetic, it has to be a very intrinsic part of you. The moment anybody starts to fake it, and the moment anybody starts to do luxury for luxury's sake, which is just trying to be grand and trying to be ostentatious and trying to be bigger than what they are and not who they are, it never works, right? Luxury doesn't have to be something that is filled with diamonds and is dazzling. Luxury can be really simple. It can just be like a beautiful cashmere blanket, which is simple and plain, but when you touch it, it feels like second skin. It feels like something which has been made by God, right? And luxury can be the most beautiful handbag, which is very simple in its design, but has been made with such precision that when you look at it and you see how it's made and how it's molded and how the brass fittings on the handbag are done, and you see how elegant it all is, that to me is the highest form of luxury. So for me, luxury first and foremost, before anything else, is being authentic to who the maker is without having to do something that someone else has done.
India's luxury market has evolved dramatically, right? What is your say on India's luxury market today versus the luxury market probably 20 years ago?
I mean, there's no comparison. I think 20 years ago, um, I mean, compared to now, the country was more kind of closed, right? And even though it wasn't closed 20 years ago, the way that it is, I've opened up now, and how India has become such a part of every global conversation is amazing. But I think what we need to hold on to, because if you look back in time, and if you look back at a time when India had to open up to the world in the way that it has, there was still a lot of luxury there, right? It was just very, very Indian luxury, right? Now that the world has opened up, now that India has opened up, there is all kinds of experiences and all kinds of influences and are going back and forth between India and the rest of the world. So I think that is what has changed. But like I said, in order for us to retain um, our voice and our originality, we have to stick to what we do best. And when we do that to the best of our abilities and take that into the world, that then becomes specific, bespoke Indian luxury, whatever that might be. So I think that has changed. That has changed a lot.
Yeah, we have different students from different fields. Like, for example, some are fashion students, some are interior students, some have chosen visual communication, right? Each of those departments perceive or demand different craft, for example. To amalgamate all of them together, if they were asked to work on one particular project, how would Moses tell them or rather guide them that, okay, I have three interior students, as three fighter students, I have three visual communicators. What trend could you or other under your mentorship to come if we ask the students to particularly team up into one group,
Yeah.
make a luxurious product? There are three fashion students, three interior students, and three visual communication.
Yeah.
A group of 9 working upon one luxury product.
Yeah.
So what would that product be? Accordingly.
But it's a coming together of fashion students, design students,
And it is.
and imperial students. Wow, that would be a very interesting product.
Yeah.
Because it's the coming together of three different disciplines actually. Um, I mean, I don't know. I think what if I was to create something out of that, or the students were to create something out of the coming together of three very different disciplines, I think it would be uh, something which is very, very beautiful for the home, for the interiors, but with a sense of fashion in it, but with a sense of design. Like it has to be something for the home that I feel is like goes extends beyond just a chair. It has to be almost sculptural. It has to be like a kind of like almost, but I don't want to call it a statue, but like something which is sculptural and which has got which allows fashion to be expressed, and yet it's in a perfect design form and made with beautiful materials, right? So I would think of, I don't know why my mind right now is thinking of a beautiful kind of statue kind of thing, which is in kind of movement with design and fabric and form and coming together, uh, bringing all three elements together. Yeah, so I would think of something like that.
Something on point creative,
Sorry.
on point creativity.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I think because I think it would give the opportunity for all the three design forms to express themselves. And I think if you're going to use three different design disciplines to create one thing, everybody needs to be given an equal opportunity and an equal chance to be able to express themselves. Right? It can't be more passion and less this and more that. It has to be equal and it has to be balanced. And only when it is any design, whether it is a table or a chair or a statue or a painting or a pair of sneakers or whatever, anything, if it lacks a sense of balance and symmetry, it's not going to work. Right? That is the most important thing. When I look at something, when I want to buy something, or when I want to create something, even when I'm directing something, um, because I've created furniture, I've done products, I make films, I'm a writer. I think everything that I do has to involve a sense of balance and symmetry in it. So even when we're filming and there's a frame, and you have to like make sure that the frame, whatever it is that we're filming, whether the frame has got, I don't know, circus in it, which is filled with thousands of things, or it's got a solitary person standing and talking, there has to be a sense of balance in the frame. So I think that sense of balance is kind of all pervasive to all design disciplines.
Like as a filmmaker, you always be on point when it comes to narratives. In today's world, do people buy luxury products or do they buy stories and emotions behind them?
I think it's a bit of both. There are many people who just go for the luxury product, so to speak, especially in the world of films. Basically, to me, a luxury product in the world of films, which would, which is just a luxury product on the surface, but underneath is not. It's like something which is a big nonsensical film that everybody would go watch because it's filled with stars, right? That to me is the equivalent of a luxury product in a film thing. And then there is the real films with the more realistic films with more essence and more depth, and they can also have stars in there. It's not like they have to be art house films, but they're just more kind of, they touch you on a more deeper level. And both of those things exist. And I think it's very difficult to like kind of generalize in any way or form that only this exists or that exists. I think what makes the world a really interesting place is that everything exists together, right? And we're able to have conversations and dialogues and and dissections of this versus that and this versus that. And that is what actually makes it all very interesting. The world would be a very body place if it was all one uniform thing, right? So everything exists together in harmony or disharmony or whatever you want to call it, but everything happy at the same time. Yeah, that's what makes the world the world.
Right. I was just briefing him about the key has students about upon its artisan 2.0. As I mentioned, we cannot be as educators, we cannot stop them from using AI.
Yeah.
But we also wanted to know the Indian culture thoroughly, right? Which is why we came up with the Tuber Artisan Department. Any particular views or suggestions according to you as to how will Artisan 2.0 help them?
The thing about, I want to say one thing about AI personally, because it's such a big part of the movie world now, right? That I think that the one thing that AI will lack forever is humanity, right? It will never be able to replace the core essence of what makes us humans, which is our humanity. Nobody else on this planet has that except for us. And that is what makes us so unique, right? So I think once we understand that, we should not be threatened by uh, by AI. In fact, we should feel what we need to look at AI for is that how can we best use it to to help us going forward, because we know that it will never be able to replace us, right? We can never feel threatened by it. And I feel that the Artisan 2.0 program is an incredible opportunity for students to uh, to be able to give their originality, their voice to something, but also to be able to delve into the world of tech and to work and to use the support of AI wherever it's necessary, but without ever losing their voice.
Yeah, that's very important. Even their voice is not to be lost.
If the voice is lost, then there is no resonance with the product, right? Every piece of art, whether it is a fashion designer or a filmmaker or a architect or whatever it is, has to have their voice, because or otherwise it just gets lost in the crowd.
You've also attended one of the most talked about female wedding, royal weddings in Australia. You know, how is the experience when we enter royal wedding altogether? Because 95% of us have never experienced a royal wedding. You know, for us, that's luxury. For us, that's something which is out of the box, something that our imagination cannot perceive because we never experienced. So how was that experience to you, and something that you'd like to communicate on those sites?
I mean, it was a very interesting and a very unique experience, I have to say, because it was an Austrian royal marrying a royal from Jaipur,
Right.
and it was two very different traditions, and it was a Catholic wedding, so the wedding was in the church, but the Indian royals had flown down a pandit for the wedding. So in the church, there was an Indian pandit who was performing Hindu rites, and uh, in the church where there was a bishop and a priest and all of these things, the Indian pandit was saying Har Har Mahadev, right? So, uh, and all the Indians were cheering and saying Jai Shri Krishna in response to the whole thing, and yet it was a Catholic wedding. So it was very interesting because all of us Indians had been told to dress in Indian clothes. So none of the Indians, the women were looking gorgeous in saris, and the men were in sherwanis and achkans and all of that stuff. And then there was the whole Austrian con- contingent, which was in dresses and gowns and tuxedos. So it was very interesting, the coming together of the two cultures, and it was not anything I have ever seen before at all, because it was because I mean at the end of the day we were in a church.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, we just open a dash to some of the questions from the students you can have.
I think that really what you said was the perfect amalgamation of fashion is that
Yeah. Like it was a perfect amalgamation of fashion, interior, and visual.
Yeah, it was, because the thing is, I mean, of course, it was a very beautiful church, very old, very historic church in Austria that we were in. So it had all the frescoes and the marble carvings and the statues, and of course, all the altar was beautiful and all of that. But in the middle of that, you had like men sitting with Rajasthani turbans and carrying swords and kirpans, because it was part of the look. So it was very interesting to see all those different design elements come together in a little remote village in Austria. It was very, yeah, it was fun.
Yes. Do you have any questions? No questions. Right. Moving on. India's luxury is defined by the craftsmanship on the artisans who religiously work on that particular respective craft. Do you think, with moving forward, there is a decline in perseverance of a particular craft? Is it because we are modernizing so much, we're not able to give justice to the craftsmanship, to the culture, to the heritage that India already possesses?
But I mean, for me, one of the best things about Indian craft is the use of hands, right? Uh, and hands are used in so many crafts across the country, right? So for me, it's more specifically about that and about the kind of, in many places, the replacement of using hands by machines, right? Which is very disappointing because what comes out of your hands can come out of no machine, right? It is your soul literally that comes out of your hand, right? And there is a personal touch to whatever the piece might be, even if you've never met the artisan, whether it's a jeweler or a weaver or whatever he might be or she might be, which a machine can maybe replicate very well because machines can do anything, but it cannot replicate in terms of soul. And I am as a filmmaker, as someone who loves design, as someone who loves passion, I have to feel it. I have to feel it. If I don't feel it, it is empty for me, right? I think for me, the biggest uh, indicator of whether something is truly resonating with me, whether something is something that I really, really love, is if I feel it, right? And even when you go watch a movie, sometimes you go watch a movie with the best intentions and you just don't feel it, right? And the movie has everything. It has the stars, it has the locations, it has amazing looks, songs and costumes and all that stuff, but it has no feel, right? So for me, feeling is the most important thing. And I think that's what an artisan's energy brings into the product that he or she makes.
St- You've experienced innate creativity in some of the world's biggest platforms. From international, of course, to national, to regional, for that matter. What excites you most about the future of Indian design, especially into the luxury segment?
I love the fact that Indian design, while being true to what it is reaching out into all parts of the world.
Right.
Right. And I think that is, I mean, India is just like, we're so lucky to be born here. We're so lucky to live here because this nation is like a wealth. It is like a treasure trove of such incredible design and in such incredible art forms and such incredible uh, history and culture and all of that. And really, like, there is no other country like India on this planet. There is no other country like India on this planet. We are old, we are new, uh, we are political, we are non-political, we are we are we are chaotic. India is chaotic, but there's a sense of control and purpose in it. It's just the most amazing country, and there's such a variety of life over here. And I think that when that is translated into any kind of design, it just, and then it reaches the far ends of the earth. I think that is the glory of India right now, and I hope it only continues to grow, whether it is through fashion, whether it is through film, whether it is through interior design, whatever the design forms are.
Then a real personal question. I am a filmmaker too. I perceived, studied filmmaking. Um, how important or what is the role that films play in the right imagination of people to give out the right path, give out the right knowledge, to give out the right aspiration? I know for a fact there are films which we can have debates upon, like it's not going to be student centric on giving something to students, but how can films play that massive role?
I have to say one thing about films and about about the world of films, that I think everyone puts too much pressure on the world of cinema to say that it needs to be have some responsibility, right? I think it's very unfair, firstly. Films are made for one reason: to entertain the room. That is their first and principal purpose, right? Now, if a filmmaker chooses to entertain a room through a message or a political film or whatever it is that he or she is trying to say, whatever it is that important to them, that is completely the artist's choice, right? You don't go to someone who makes chairs and tell them to politicize the chairs, right? You see the chair for its beauty, for its functionality, for its comfort, and then you decide to love the chair or buy the chair or want the chair or whatever it is. Same way with the film. A filmmaker should not be burdened with the responsibility of having to have a message in his or her films. If he chooses to, that is his choice.
Right.
And if he has made that choice or she has made that choice, then they need to live with the consequences of that choice. Because then something will happen. And then you need to stand up and protect and uphold your integrity as an artist and say, yes, I have done this. But for every film to be burdened with some kind of message or with the responsibility of a message is actually very unfair. There are some films which are my favorite films in the world, which are absolutely brainless, right? And they have no message, they have no agenda, they're just out to purely entertain you and to uh, just make you feel good for 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever it is. So I don't know. I feel it's unfair of people to, of course, there are films with messages. There are thousands of films with messages and there are thousands of films with political undertones and social undertones and all of these things. But that's the filmmaker's choice. Not every film needs to become that film.
Do you think the creativity also somewhere kills, makes killed? Sorry, the creativity of a film is also killed in that process if we demand something from them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, a filmmaker is an artist at the end of the day. He or she needs to be allowed to breathe when they're making a film. I mean, it is unfair to impose things on a filmmaker while a film is being made or after it has been shot and then suddenly you want to change the edit and this, that, and the other. Then you didn't sign up for the filmmaker's vision. You signed up for a very different agenda that you're using the filmmaker to further, right? Which is not cool. Which is not cool. And it leads into, of course, it leads to a fight if the filmmaker wants to stand his over ground, but it also leads to a lot of unnecessarily heartbreak and anxiety, which no artist needs to go through because artists go through that in any case. Right? Every artist goes through heartbreak and anxiety in any case. And when I mean that, I mean like when you're creating something and it doesn't come out the way that you want to, and it doesn't come out the way that you've envisioned it. I mean, I go crazy when I'm writing scripts. Sometimes I'm just sitting in front of a laptop for like 3 days and I know what I have to say. I know the story that is in my head, but I'm not able to write it. And that is for no particular reason. It's just my own process. And on some days I'm writing and it just flies out of me. Right. And like even when you're directing, like sometimes you're on set and you may shoot whatever it is that you're supposed to be shooting for that particular day, but sometimes you feel it and sometimes you don't feel it. Right. And so when you on the days that you don't feel it, it's very upsetting. You can't even talk about it to anybody because it's such a deep, like, kind of thing that you're feeling within yourself. And you're like, how do I make this better? And it is very painful if you're a true artist, right? Then on top of that, if there is someone who's pushing your artwork, whatever it might be, especially if it's a film, into an agenda-driven situation, it's infuriating. It's infuriating.
Right, one last question. What would your right advice to these youngsters be? But the catch is that 3 words only. Your advice, 3 words.
Oh God. Wow. I'll come to the 3 words part, but I want to say something right now to the room because you're students and there's something very pivotal going on in our country right now. And I just believe that the youth, students are the power of any nation, right? They are the fuel that will take any country forward, especially a country like ours, which is got so many billions of young people in it who are all poised to take on the world. And I believe that students and the youth And all of that stuff should never be stopped from doing whatever it is that they want to, as long as it's purposeful, as long as it's valid, and as long as it is actually truthful. They should never be stopped from doing what they're doing. And it is such an incredible time to be there right now, because there obviously seems to be some kind of rising that is happening, because it literally it brings tears to my eyes when I watch on social media the kind of fire that these kids have. And I hope that it will always remain, because that fire will go on to make something really beautiful. That fire will go on to make something really beautiful. So that's something that I want to say to a room full of students, because I am behind them 100%. Uh, thank you. As far as 3 words go, yeah, it's a very difficult question. Um, I think authentic is the most important thing, because, and I'm going to explain the 3 words here a little bit, because if you're not authentic, then what is the voice of your art? Right? You have to be authentic. Brave. You have to be brave, because you have to take chances. If you don't take chances, your work will be regular. It will not be that extra, ultra, that wow, that will lack the wow factor. So you have to take chances. And the third thing is, how do I say this in one word? Authentic, brave, and well, no, that kind of fits with authentic. I know what I want to say. I'm just trying to find the right word for it. Authentic, brave, and um that's a big reach. No. I'm like to say it. I have to say it. Uh I can't say in one word, so I'll say it in two. Perseverance. Actually, I got a word. Perseverance, because an artist life is never easy. It is never easy. I mean, if you've chosen to be an artist, you're going to be tortured by yourself. How do I make the best thing? How do I have something incredible come out of me? That is going to be your first level of torture. Your second level of torture is going to be to make the world see what you have made. And you may think you have made something unbelievable, but the world may not even see it as that. And that will break your heart. But how do you go back to the drawing board and say, okay, fine, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it better. I'm going to do it in the most amazing manner. So for that, you need to have perseverance, because you cannot keep going on and on and on if you don't have that fire burning in you to constantly prove yourself. That is an artist's life. It is not an easy life. It is a difficult life. And for all of us to think that everything is just going to happen amazingly, I mean, I really hope it does. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but we also have to take into consideration that rejection, not being understood, or failure are also very much a part of an artist's life. And not everything happens for everybody the first time you make it. Sometimes things take time. Sometimes you take time to understand your own art, your own creativity, your own process, your own voice. And all of that requires courage, it requires perseverance, and it requires you to be continuously authentic. Because the moment you think that you're going to start emulating other people and you're going to start doing something that has worked for other people, you're going to do it on your own, it's not going to work for you. Take it from me, writing is not going to work for you. I've been there. I came to Bombay many years ago, and I did not know anybody in the movie business, and I wanted to make movies, and I had no idea I was going to make a film. I had never worked on a film. I never assisted anybody. I'd never been to film school. I just had love and passion, and that was it. And in the beginning, I made a lot of mistakes because I felt like the way to make a movie is that, oh, that guy's doing it, or that guy's doing it, or that guy's doing it. And while I was trying to do all of that, I lost myself. I fell through the cracks that I had only created for myself. And then I decided that no, there's something wrong with what I'm doing. And I realized that the only person I'm not tapping into is myself. I'm tapping into everybody else because I'm trying to see what formula has worked for X, Y, and Z, but I'm not tapping into myself. And the moment I started tapping into myself, it's like I've opened up the gates to what my career was going to be. And it's the easiest thing to lose touch with who you are. And it's actually the most difficult thing to stay in touch with who you are. Because we don't realize that everything is already within us. We are constantly looking outwards to try and find the answers, but all the answers are within us. All we need to do is deep dive and figure out what it is that we want. And it all starts from there. It all starts from your own words.
Thank you so much for thank you so much to be a part of this personal journey. I would say it's a beginning to a lot of these students when it comes to luxury, because we also recently ended department of luxury. Um, I know students are fresh; they have fresh ideas, and starting out with your perspective is also, I'm pretty sure, going to be gift to them. Thank you so much once again. We hope to see your pretty bird, but you get to see a lot of fashion students in the special display. We'll possibly be able to do the lower. Thank you so.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to say one last thing before we wrap up is that I think I said a lot of things because this is so much I said right now. But I think the only thing I've actually really said is just be yourself.
Right.
Right. Underneath everything that I have said, the only thing is that just be yourself because nobody else can be you.
Right.
Who you are, nobody else can be. That's the biggest advice I can give because that is how I have learned. Thank you.
My three-word advice to you would be just have fun. Right. My three-word advice would be just have fun.
Well, that is a very important part of design, right? Because if you're not enjoying it, right? If you're not enjoying it, if you're not like having a blast while you're creating whatever it is that you're creating, and it's actually turning out to be like heavy and burdensome and all that, and it's just like kind of eating away at you, then it's not fun.
Right.
It's not fun.
The lowest days are the most amazing days.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes fun is not even while you're creating the thing. Sometimes fun is when you're away from the thing.
Absolutely.
Right? Whatever it is that you're creating and you're having your own thing. And because the thing is, if you really care, you're carrying it with you all the time.
Yeah.
It's not like you're only carrying it with you when you're in a studio or when you're in front of the camera, whatever it is. You're carrying, if you really love whatever you do, you're carrying it with you when you sleep, when you work out, when you're having dinner with someone else, you're carrying it to you the whole time.
Right.
Right? So it's always there. And I think the way to treat everything is with a kind of little lightness of touch.
Right.
So it's not bogging you down and you don't want to like, I don't know, go crazy and kill yourself trying to make something. You are actually having a blast every second of the day. I mean, you have to be partying in your soul if you want to make something beautifully. Really, there's no other way. And I really, really believe in that. I find it very tedious when I meet people who take themselves, when I meet artists of any kind who take themselves so seriously, right? And find them boring. Like their work doesn't touch me. But I love an artist who's just wild and free and happy, but really, very, really serious. So, yeah. We have one question to the studio previously. Yeah.
I had a question on luxury. If we say what is the difference between Indian luxury and westernized luxury?
Yeah. So I think the main thing between Indian luxury and Western luxury is that the high point of Indian luxury is that it's handcrafted, right? And of course, there is handcrafted Western luxury also. But Western luxury typically is more machine driven, right? And the other thing about Indian luxury is that Indian luxury is rooted in traditionalism, right? It's rooted in something very old, something very cultural to India. And Western luxury is like a watch is a watch is a watch, a handbag, a handbag. Ultimately, whether it's Gucci or Balenciaga or Louis Vuitton, you're all the same. To take off the labels of all these bags, you can't really tell what it is. But when you see uh, the work of a Jamivar, or you see a beautiful uh, tribal painting from Orissa, you can't replicate that. That is Indian luxury. So I think Indian luxury is very personal in a way, and Western luxury is very generic.
Any other questions? Yeah. Now everybody's asking. At that time, everybody were shut. I would like to ask, what is the role of detailing while building a luxury product?
Detailing is the most important thing. That's a really great question. Detailing is the most important thing while building a luxury brand because the God is always in the details. God is always in the details. It is the detailing which makes something from really lovely to something really wow. So it is something that you really have to focus on and you really have to pay a lot of attention to, even if the detailing is minute and even it is something that only you can see, it is important for the product. Because the moment you remove the aspect of detailing from any product, it just becomes generic, right? How the most important thing for any artist, any designer is that the product must be unique. Whether it is a shoe or whether it is a chair or whether it is a lamp, it must be unique. And the only thing that will make it unique is the detailing. So that's a great question.
And we have both. Yeah.
On a personal point of view, when you when you make the movie, was it luxury for you?
I think only two types of people can make films. Either they have to be completely in love with cinema or they have to be completely nuts. They have to be crazy. I give you an incident about talking about your answer. I was shooting for my first movie, Zuban, which I made in 2000, I shot in 2015. And it was with Vicky Kaushal. It was his first film actually. And and Sarah Jane Dyers was the actress. And we were shooting this song sequence that we had to shoot in the salt fields of Rajasthan, which is in Sambar, which is around a 5-hour drive from Jaipur. And there is ducking for miles. Like the hotels we were staying at, which were these little motels, 2-star hotels, because there's nothing else, but 2 hours away from the location. And the song was supposed to be a day shoot. And we got there to shoot the song at 5 in the morning because we wanted the full day. Full crew of like 80, 100 people. I don't remember the number. And at around 9 o'clock in the morning, there was a sandstorm. Now, we were shooting in salt flats. So what was flying into people's faces was salt. Mixture of salt and sand. And it was going into people's eyes and up their noses and in their ears. And the girls, some of the girls who were young girls who were working on the crew, it went into their eyes and their eyes started like pussing out of someone's eye. Someone started to the other person couldn't stop crying and all that stuff was happening. And so my producer came up to me and he said that we have to cancel the shoot. And I was like, how can we cancel the shoot? We have spent months preparing for this. We have found this location after such going around the country and looking for the right location because location takes time to find. And now we are finally here. And I know there is a sandstorm going on, a salt storm going on, whatever you want to call it. But how can we just leave? And it's such a loss, or such a financial loss to the thing. And I remember sitting in the middle of that thing like this with my hand on with my head in my hands, and I was like, what are we going to do? And finally, I looked up and there was this dust storm swirling and people running and girls crying and someone this thing, they're going into someone's throat and all of that stuff. And I was like, why am I doing films? Why am I putting myself through this torture? So to answer your question, shooting films is the most unluxurious thing in the world. It is the most unluxurious film in the world. I was shooting for my series Human in Bhopal. We were shooting in the slums of Bhopal and the alleyways were so tight that the camera and the DOP and the director and the ADs couldn't fit into it. So I had to stand in a sewer the whole time so that I could get the right angle and shoot it like that. And I was like, I can't believe I'm standing in a sewer. That's the thought that was going on in my head. And I was like, I would never do this on a normal day. Edit. I would just never do it, but I had to get my shot. I had to get the right angle. The light was falling in a particular way. There's so many things. It's mathematical. And I was like, okay, so this is the path that I've chosen to be a filmmaker. Now I have to deal with the consequences. And the consequences are always unglamorous, unluxurious, very difficult. I promise you, in movies, when you see people who make films walking down the red carpet and all dressed up in their beautiful clothes and all that stuff, that is one day. That is one day. What it takes to get there is unluxury, if there's such a word. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.